I just missed it. If I would have started my Dead by Daylight review a couple seconds earlier, you would have actually heard dynamite going off. I don't know if it had picked it up because of noise cancellation, but you almost missed dynamite. Would have been cool. Anyway, welcome to another Dead by Daylight review. My chat. Oh, it's already pinned. Well, god dang. It's ahead of me. Before I begin, behavior, you're kind of slacking. This fan creation subforum that's been pinned and closed by the developers and the community manager. This should have been removed a long time ago. The last time that they should be ended, and if you do want to create this again, you should definitely redo it and reopen it. Delete this instance. The community challenge, be creative, design your own perk. This should have been closed a long time ago, and then it should have been reopened. Same with this, design an add-on for your favorite killers. All of these should have been closed at the end of last year, and then reopened up for the beginning of this year, so the beginning of January, and they should do this yearly, so all of these old forum posts and all of this have a chance to die, and the newer ideas of people's ideas are, updated, more modern, as opposed to things back from, way back when, half of it's been phased out or already implemented into the game. Definitely this little area here needs to be fixed. I mean, apparently there is a community manager and there is a developer that does come through here every once in a while, even though it's been since, I guess, 2018, if this is correct. Definitely needs to be washed and redone. Poster killer ideas here. This post, again, needs to be closed. It needs to be re-brought to light for 2022. At the end of the year, they should have been closed, redone. People are going to continue posting, killer ideas and things into this post. And if they are, they should definitely have this, because people that don't want to make entire concepts and they post them as chapter concepts, which is annoying, they can easily just post it in this little form right here. I have an idea. A killer that's a grasshopper that walks around with two size arms or something like that. A bug killer. You can post that there. You don't have to have anything supporting or anything like that. And if anybody thinks a grasshopper killer would be a good killer, they can easily go in here, pull an idea from somebody that they've listed, and they can create a concept for it. Heck, if I wasn't busy making projects on the side about things, I would literally possibly start another series for the second time slot that's been open. I could have easily did reviews in the day and then at night taken a regular killer idea, and then I could have made those into, post or creations and made a dual series and extended or expanded what I did. Those two time slots would be permanently taken up, but I mean, it would stay towards the forum as opposed to Dead by Daylight and whatever. And occasionally I can just play Dead by Daylight and do whatever needs to be done. But yeah, if you have ideas, by all means, consolidate them into one post as opposed to posting, I wish FNAF was a killer or had a killer. I wish Dying Light 2 had a killer. I wish Gears of War had a killer. things like that, and not putting any type of supporting context or concepts or anything else. Only problem with this says post your killer ideas here, and people sometimes are posting entire concepts there. Or they're posting a concept out here and then going up and posting it here, when these two should be separate things. If it's a full concept, post it outside. If it's just an idea or a snippet of a killer, or not complete in any shape or form, post it here. So the incomplete stuff can be consolidated. I wouldn't mind going into a post that's like that, that has, ideas, and just reviewing, an entire list of ideas to put out there for the community. I wouldn't mind that, but when it's posted out here, it's kind of like, what are you doing? you know? So I agree with the idea of having a post for that, but this needs to be labeled accordingly, just for the basic ideas or the rough sketches or, you know, ideas, and then out here should be actual concepts. It would clean this up a lot, and I wouldn't be wasting my time going through and clicking and seeing if, what is what and which is which, and if it's done properly or whatever. And everything out here would be full, complete, concepts. And I never have to worry about, cutting the check. Anyway, killer concept, the psychopath rework. Brother, brother, December 2021, February 6th. Just update this to this. Update it. Don't post it twice. Because now I'm not going to look at the original, and I'm just going to go purely based off the rework. And the problem you have here, that is, if I suggest something that's part of the original, that's in the rework, and you're like, oh, I tried this before and it didn't work, guess what? I'm not going to know, because I'm not going to look at both of them. So you're actually hurting yourself posting twice instead of just going back in and editing, using the tools available and the methods available to edit everything and to make one complete work. I guarantee it's just a copy and paste, and then he just reworked everything he needed to rework instead of making any type of change log or anything like that on his original post. But whatever, I'm only looking at the rework though, so let's hop on into this and see what we're looking at. Pretty sure I did the initial psychopath because it's the Jeff the Killer that me and Critty meme about, or used to meme about, but let's see. Same problems as last time. Tear radius only 12 meters. Base movement speed has been made to 4.6. At 4.6, moving that 12-meter tear radius, you might as well just made him undetectable. As soon as, again, I'm repeating myself from the last time I did this, as soon as survivors hear that, doom doom, they have less than 3 seconds to react to it. Generally, it ends up, being a 32-meter tear radius with a 4.6. We can round that up to 5. That gives survivors about 6 seconds. Well, over 6 seconds to react after hearing the heartbeat. From here, they have less than 3 seconds to react. So as soon as you hear the doom doom, it's already too late. He's already on you. He is within 12 meters. You enter in the time it takes for a survivor to cancel said action, run away, or pick a direction, where they want to go, and run to whatever exit that is, whether it's a window or anything around them. That's going to take about another additional second that this killer is going to be barreling towards you. So if you have an immediate escape plan, you'll have less than 3 seconds. But let's just say approximately 3 seconds to do whatever you need to do. It's actually way less because I'm going off of 4 divided by 3, not 4.6. So you would actually only have about 2 and some change. 2.6, something like that. Let's say approximately 3. That is the problem from the start that I pointed out way back when, and it still hasn't been fixed. Might as well make your killer undetectable and then decrease the speed appropriately to balance that out, or do it like a pseudo ghost face and make it to where when you make an action, do an action, or anything like that, then the undetectable status effect goes away. You can even sort of do it like Freddy, to where Freddy is undetectable in dream status, but he has a lullaby that plays, even though he himself doesn't have any type of hair radius or red stain when you're in his dream world. Any mix of whatever's available on the game, or you could even do something custom and something, spontaneous. But leaving it at just 12 meters per second and 4.6 is kind of not very good. Because even without the power, we say no power, just mouse one killer. That tear radius decrease, again, giving the survivors only a couple of seconds to react, is going to guarantee you the hit on any survivor that is unprepared. Essentially anything that isn't high gold to iridescent. And that's arguable, the gold portion. Because I know some iridescents that play very sloppy and they just kind of go with the flow. Killer comes in, they run out the other side, then they start looking for loops and things. As opposed to knowing where everything is beforehand. I mean, you're there for 80 seconds sitting. Why not plan something and do other things during the 80 seconds? You know what I'm saying? But just this is very good. Then we go into the power. He didn't change any of this. Not really. I see things that are buffed that shouldn't be roughed. I mean, I guess he listened to some of the things that Critty were saying, but Jesus Christ. Psychopath stun duration is decreased by 90%. Stuns ain't very long in general. It's like what, 3 seconds tops? It goes, they go, oh, and then they put their hand down and they're moving. It's what, 3 seconds? You can run any perk to decrease that to like 1.5 seconds. Not very long. In total, if you drop a pallet, get the pallet stunned, and then the killer breaks the pallet, you're looking at what, 5, maybe 6 seconds of space a survivor could technically get on you. But in most cases, after you pallet stun a survivor, the survivor either flashlights, tea bags, or something like that, giving the killer the opportunity to break that distance. And if you do get pallet stunned and it's not a god pallet or anything like that, and the survivor continues running, then generally the killer will just walk around the wall because it's faster to just walk around the wall and keep zoning and chasing, as opposed to stopping and, breaking said pallet and giving them that extra couple of seconds of room. And that's all dependent upon the base factor, you actually getting the pallet stun. Now, two problems with this. One, if you do get the pallet stun and it being decreased by 90%, it's essentially worthless. Two, if you're running any type of stun perks, head on, decisive, anything like that, 90% of the value is gone. Which, I mean, if this was the end of the killer concept and it was just a basic mouse one killer who was unstunnable. Obviously, 90% is way too high because you can run, other perks that decrease your stun duration, and it would be over 100%. So, that's always an issue. You should definitely balance it with other perks, but if that was the end of the killer concept, we could have a discussion about just a regular old mouse one killer that technically can't be stunned. The skill base is based off your chasing and looping, things like that. All good. But instead, we go even deeper. Go to sleep. Actually, before any of that, hitting survivors with feed, the active ability, go to sleep. It doesn't even state here what the active ability feed is. And if I start scrolling down, we're looking for feed, looking for feed, looking for feed, looking for feed. There is nothing called feed. This says special ability, but this isn't the active ability, even though it says hold the secondary active ability button. It does not state that this is anywhere in terms of feed. So hitting survivors with feed, the active ability, go to sleep. Give me 1 second. silence that so I don't catch a copyright strike. I don't know. Oh. Hitting survivors with feed, the active ability, go to sleep. We don't know what feed is. So I'm assuming it's just going to be off of a basic attack. Who knows? There's nowhere in here that says the word feed. We do not know. This is also part of the problem of copying pasting when you're reworking something and not going back in and actually read everything through because you don't catch all the disconnects. All right. I mean, I've already went over this. You can go back to the Jeff the Killer things that I went over. This is specifically maniacals, not critties, so you'll have to go back like 2 different ones. Generally, stun decrease, movement and action speed goes up quite a bit, tear radius continues to decrease. Killer instinct, if another survivor goes to save that said survivor, and it's just a whole bunch of just OP things added with a bunch of OP perks. Not gonna go over this again. This is a rework. The rework is still bad. And there's gonna be no way that this particular individual can probably save this concept. Because it's flawed from the start. You're missing terminologies, which means you're missing perks. You're not going off of any base syllabus or anything like that, or any guide. You didn't look up anything about Dead by Daylight to find correct values and things like that. But your foundation is already crumbled, and your building's tilted, and it's slowly and surely falling over. No matter how much you rework it, no matter how much people tell you to do this or that, the foundation's broken. You're not going to get a perfect building on top of a broken foundation. Only thing you can do in this situation, unfortunately, would be to erase, and then redo. Not rework, redo. Because reworking ain't working. The Undertaker. This is the one where somebody else posted their similar concept on top of it. Edit. Added a new secondary power to his kit to mitigate the fact that he's like Clown. No map pressure whatsoever. Every killer doesn't need map pressure. Like Bubba, for example. Bubba technically has no map pressure. He has loot pressure, he has gen pressure, he has all kinds of other things. He just doesn't have very high map pressure. Whoever he's chasing, if you run the right add-ons and things like that, are going to be in a little trouble. But as you're chasing, you have to run, perks to give you that little bit of map pressure. That's Bubba's general weakness. And that's where, I mean, things are, balanced around. That's how builds are created. That's how playstyles are, created, things like that. That's where meta strategies and different techs come into play. You don't want a killer that has every kind of pressure because it ends up being not fun for one side. Whole point of playing Bubba, well, I guess there's multiple points, but one of the points of playing Bubba is you have a one hit down. However, with that one hit down, you don't have map pressure, which makes you have to initialize initiate a particular set of strategy and perks to try and help yourself out. Some people go to basement camping and things like that. Other people go for, other things. I mean, Bamboozle seems to be one of the meta perks for Bubba, obviously. But I mean, that's how characters are developed, and that's how a community, comes together on a particular creation. Adding in a secondary power to give your killer map pressure. If your killer isn't designed to have map pressure, then, you're going into the OP. Oh, I found a flaw in my killer. I'm just going to write something down to buff that out. Now he's good at anything he wants to be. And my killer, I'm going to send in and call it a complete concept. There's no holes. If there's no holes, then what's the point in having your killer in a roster? If somebody playing your killer gets a 4 kill every time they play your killer's not fun. Your killer's not challenging. It takes no skill to play your particular killer, thus making it completely pointless to implement into the game. You ain't gonna challenge a player. Players are gonna get bored. If I ever get tilted, I might play your killer just to get some free wins and be able to be, oh no, I'm not bad at the game. See, but the community's gonna ostracize anybody that uses your killer, and the toxicity and everything else is going to go up. And God help you if you're a streamer and you pick that character and people come into your stream, they are going to absolutely ruin you. Anyway, due to the meta favoring killers who can keep the pressure up, that's not true. Again, Bubba. Bubba works completely fun. There are nurse mains that work completely fine. There are a lot of killers that are still played that don't have a lot of map pressure. The meta has nothing to do with killers that can keep the pressure up. It's the killers that are engaging, the killers that are fun, the killers that are challenging, but also reward you for mastering said killer. You have to have this nice little cocktail, and everything works out together, and it all tastes good when you drinks it. Because if one thing's too strong, or in this case, you have multiple things that are too strong, the cocktail's not going to be good. I feel as though Undertaker would suffer heavily, having a hard time to use and relatively weak power, relegating him to being a low tier pick. Making him strong to make him a higher tier pick's not a smart thing to do. It's not. And he's not going to be a high tier pick because the high tier picks have already been picked. You want to make your killer, I already went over what you need to make. You need to make your killer a cocktail that supports everything to where a specific type of play style or person can pick up your particular killer and it'll click with them. And that's how you get people to main your killer or do something like that. Not, well, I'm just going to do everything that the meta says and I'm going to send it because guess what? That's not going to work because everybody else is doing the same thing you're going to be fighting with, which is the majority of creations nowadays. I also did an add-on pass, as many of his add-ons were utter trash, like one that made survivors being grabbed, blind, or oblivious. Edit made with 452 hours in game. Time in game when I started, 102 hours. Time in game when I finished, 113 hours. Well, that is way too little hours in game to be making creations or concepts. I said you should have a month's worth of play before you should even start grasping the basics of the game. Most times when you play Dead by Daylight, you sit down for a session because you know the matchmaking can take a long amount of time and the game's even longer. So, let's say you have a limit of an hour a day. An hour a day, let's say 30 days in a month instead of 31 because it's nice and rounded. That'd be 30 hours in a month. However, that's only playing an hour a day. You're not going to know shit because by the time you find the game, play through a game, and do all of that, your time's going to be up. If you're lucky and find very quick games and have, very fulfilling sessions, you might be able to get 4 games in. If you're lucky. But if you think about it, 4 games a day, all lasting under this hour playtime. That's from the time, you start your computer to time you turn your computer off. In this hour playtime, you're not going to get a lot of experience. You're going to have to look up guides or something else like that, or, you're just going to be a filthy casual getting slapped till you pick it up. Some people are prodigies and they can only play an hour a day and they, figure things out. Some other people aren't. Most people aren't. So playing 1 hour a day from time you start your computer to time you end computer would give you in a 30-day period 90 hours. That is 1 hour of gameplay a day. 90 hours. And you're just over 100 hours. So, I mean, you know, you're getting there. So that would be 3 games a day, which I mean, that's healthy. A healthy 3 games. 3 games a day in that 1 hour. Not even 4, like I said, it would be 3 games a day. I said, you ain't gonna get much because your average Dead by Daylight game can go from like 10 to 15, even 20 minutes, depending on how they are. Especially starting out and being a noob. Those games go on forever. Forever. Especially if everybody's a coward and the killer don't know what he's doing. They can go on forever. Yeah, yeah. 100 hours. Mm. I guess it'll give you a baseline. At 100 hours, you should be able to at least get into the game, know what you're doing, and what you can do for the most part. At least the basics. I'm not talking about the different techs and crap like that. Just the basics of getting in, doing the gens, and getting back out. 100 hours, you should be able to do that. You should be able to know when to vault windows and things like that. Loops and all that, you're not going to have down all the way, but you should be decent. I think it's too early to be making full concepts though, because you just don't have the knowledge of all the base game things. And it's funny because when it comes to DBD and Rocket League, two of the main games that I play on this channel, if you look at Rocket League from an outside perspective, all you see is car driving and hitting ball. And you're like, well, how hard can it be? Well, I mean, 8,000 hours down the road, you're still, ain't good at the game. I mean, you're decent, but you ain't like, yeah. 8,000 hours, you should be at a semi pro level, or if not pro level, depending on how your learning curve and everything like that. You should be at a pro level. You should be competing in tournaments and all of that. But unless you're a prodigy, you're not looking at world champion. And that's 8,000 hours on game where you jump and hit ball in the goal. Dead by Daylight, you do generators and then you run. It is a lot of tech and a lot of skill for such a basic concept, which is what makes the game appealing to some. Undertaker. Regular stats. Don't need to put 6 foot 3 inches and all of that, really. Tall has its minimum and maximum height, and that will be determined by the model maker. how high or how tall they want this killer to be. Difficulty hard, I doubt it, but let's see. The weapon is a spoon, which is a rusty broken shovel. Power beyond the grave. When the ability key is pressed and held. Ability or power? Because this is power. Generally, in power, it's when power key is held. When it's special ability, ability key is held. When the ability key is pressed and held, after 3 seconds, a bunch of decrepit, rotten hands burst through the ground. From the moment they are reached from the ground, the hands will move in the direction that the player is facing at 3.8 meters per second. I don't know where you got clown from this. Oh, clown because no pressure. This is like the artist. It's literally an artist. Instead of a crow flying in the air, its hands on the ground. The Undertaker moves at 4.3 meters per second while using this ability. At any point, the player can let go of the ability key to leave the hands in place, still grasping at the air. However, after 7 seconds of not moving the hands, they will disappear. So you can make them appear. Once they appear, they keep moving forward at 3.8 meters per second. And then if you let go at any point in time, they stop. However, while doing this, you remain at a speed of 4.3 meters per second, which don't make any sense. Why would I shoot the hands out in front of me if the hands are slower than I am? So the problem you're going to have is when you're using this ability, you can walk past the ability being used and continue to chase this player. And you're also faster than said player. So let's say Kill Shack, for example, because I love using that as an example. If a survivor is running either towards or running the loop of Kill Shack, you can summon the hands and then walk around to the window that the survivor's, sitting at. And you can continue to chase that survivor. In my particular case, I would just put the hands down in front of a doorway and then I would chase the survivor out the other doorway to end the loop. But you can sit the hands down and hold the power and then chase around the window towards the survivor. The survivor now, again, has to either find a way to get around the hands or they have to dodge the hands and then go in the window or just immediately leave. Why is the question I have. It is why. And they stay there 7 seconds after you release said power. Why? Why are the hands slower than the killer? Why is the killer faster than the survivor? Like, all of these base functions need to be fixed. When using the power should move faster than the survivor. Even if it's 4.1, it needs to have the ability to catch the survivor. Generally, you'll want it at a little bit of a higher speed. Because when you're lining things up, like, a hatchet or something like that, you want it to be able to catch up to the survivor and the survivor not to be able to outrun it and just move to get out of the way as they see it flying towards them. You want to keep it, that antsiness. As soon as that hatchet gets let go, if they don't immediately move, they get bopped. Not as soon as the hands get let go, the survivor can just look at them approaching and then just walk to the side around them and ignore them and act like they don't exist. While at the same time, the killer, who's faster than the hands, has no reason to try to use the hands to block off anything because the killer is going to get there faster regardless. The killer's going to get 0.5 meters per second on the hands. So 2 seconds in, you're already a meter away from your hands in front of it. So you're going to either have to slow yourself down to stay behind the hands, which gives the survivor more room to escape, or you're going to shoot the hands and then you're going to continue to chase the survivor. At that point, if the hands aren't visible through a wall or anything like that, then you're just playing a guessing game on where the hands are. That doesn't make your killer hard to use, it makes it impractical to use. I summon something, run around it, and then have it or have to hold a button for it to go or not. What's going to happen is, like I said, they're just going to put a trap in a doorway or near a doorway and then scoot it up to said doorway as they're on their way through and force the survivor out of another way, or they're going to zone that survivor and just use the hands to grab them or do whatever needs to be done. Not a very good power, and I don't even need to go through the rest of this particular gobbledygook because all of this needs to be redone already from the top. Again, your foundation is not good. The power base and everything else is not good. Also, this is a ranged attack, even though it's slow. Why is it 4.6 and 32 meters? It should be the 24 and 4.4. You want less tear radius because it's going to be a pain in the butt to try to set up and do all of that. You also get the last speed because if your hands are going to be moving slow, you want your killer to move slower. So you're not just running out ahead of your attack that you're using. I don't know if the hands have any type of collision with killer or anything like that. I'm going to assume no, but who knows? Zombies collide with Nemesis, so I mean, this power of hands might collide with killer. Don't know. Do the hands give the killer a boost if he steps through them, A slap on the ass or a push in the back or something. Who knows? I'm not gonna find out. This concept, I've already broken it apart and I ain't even made it that far. I haven't even finished this and I don't need to because you're beginning. So what needs to be fixed already immediately is activation, the speed that you're moving, the speed that you're moving, the speed that they're moving, the survivor's speed, all of that needs to be rebalanced. And I don't think I need to go over this. I mean, I see keywords like hindered, minus 20% movement speed and things like that, but all of that's going to be subject to change when the main thing gets fixed. You can always count on folks to ignore the power you came up with, just immediately look at the perks. Well, perks are the crux of the game. If you ain't got good perks on your killer or a good perks in pool, people aren't going to buy your killer. Even if your killer's dog shit, if you have good perks, they'll still buy the killer and just ignore them. So yeah, that's why people are looking at your perks. Plus, if they did what I did, because I was going to immediately jump down and give the perks a chance because they're separate from the concept, your power on your particular killer is dog water. It's bad. It needs to be done. It needs to be reworked. Another one that the foundation's broken and the power's not even set up right. It's not good. They're salvaging what they can and giving you something about perks as opposed to anything else. Some people don't care about your concept because they're not planning on playing any type of other killer because they have their main couple that they play. So they don't care. They just want to know if the perks are worth investing in. Never, ever, ever yell at somebody that's giving you honest feedback. Never be dismissive on somebody that's giving you honest feedback. He literally says, I only wanted to see the perks. I feel like these perks are way too situational or not substantial enough to work on their own. That is very good feedback if this is, true, which we'll go back up and check. Instead of going back and getting into an argument or debunking, debasing, facing, being negative towards this individual that tried to help you with what little sentences that they said. Your perks might not be up to snuff. Go back in and look at them again. If you think they're up to snuff after looking at them again, ignore what he said. If other people are saying the same thing, maybe check a third time. Maybe look at it from different perspectives. I don't know. Here. X maggot meal. When a survivor is put into a dying state, the recovery speed is reduced by 50%. Why? I mean, I understand it's an undertaker and all of this other stuff, but why? Survivor's down. Oh no. His recovery skill is decreased, or speed is decreased by 50%. So this brings your killer into the terms of being a slugger. And with all the boon exponentials, unbreakable, and everything else that increases recovery speed, I'm pretty sure, and I can double check real quick, that that 50% reduction ain't gonna really do much. Especially if you're slugging. Let's go here, type in recovery speed. Use me chat. 1. Boon exponential. 100% bonus recovery speed. Recoveries. Oh my there. Recovery speed increased to 25%. Again, this is a direct counter to no mither. Unbreakable. Recovery speed increased 35%. And this is just hex pentimento. Which keep in mind that to get a 30% recovery speed decrease on survivors requires 3 tokens to be relit, which is not very common if you're running hex pentimento. Not very common. You would have to run Hex Undying and then like Ruin or probably like Devour Hope, because if you run Ruin, they don't necessarily have to. I don't go after Ruin totems because I generally stay on generators till they're completed. So you would have to run like Hex Undying and Devour of Hope in order to force survivors to break, all of that. And that would still only guarantee you 2. Hex Undying would break, then Devour of Hope would break. That's 2. Generally, you would run a run like Haunted Grounds or something in there to try to get a double activation. So you would have to run a complete and total Hex build, with Hex Pentimento being the 4th, to even get a chance of getting the 3 totems. Or, yeah, totem spawns. Or rekindles, there you go. 3 total rekindles to get this perk activated. Whereas, and that's 30%. You have to do all of that around the world thing. So you're losing 4 perk slots to get a 30% decrease in speed. Whereas here, you're instantly giving them a 50% recovery speed. So if you would have looked at supporting perks, like No Mither and Unbreakable, which only gives you a 35%, and things like that, you would have known that 50% is way too high. See how simple it is to scale out these particular perks if you just take time to look at other port or perks that do the same thing. 50%'s way too high. 30% still is arguably way too high. You would want to reduce the recovery speed by about 10 to 15%, 15% being tops. Because there are other perks that you can run that will supplement this particular perk. 15% on its own is completely fine for a passive. And that's all this is. This first line is a passive. The real crux of this is survivors' bleed out speed is increased by 125% for 25 seconds. And for every survivor currently hooked, gain an increase 7% to entity speed. The last effect is a flat effect and not caused by a survivor going into a dying effect or dying state. This is already a perk, and you already know the perk for basement speed and all, or for basement hooks, etc., etc. There's already a perk hooked to that, but you are increasing their bleed out timer by 125% speed. By, not to, by 100% is the regular timer. You are doubling it and adding a fourth more of the time to the timer. I'm gonna assume bleed out timer on Dead by Daylight's like 2 minutes or something, the same as the phases that you're on a hook or something like that. I've never actually looked up bleed out timer. Four minutes? Holy shit. It makes sense though. Despite these people here and here saying making it the same as the phases. I know why they didn't. And I was wrong to think that too. Because just off the top of my head, I just assumed it was 2 minutes the same as phases. But if the bleed out timer is 2 minutes, what's the point of hooking? You know? Making it double makes complete sense if you take time to think about it and reevaluate it. Hook timer, hook going through body, entity trying to suck out their soul, and then laying on the ground and dying should take, twice as long. So, yes. 4 minute bleed out timer, 2 minute hook timer makes sense. And if Dead by Day or the devs ever decreased bleed out timer to 2 minutes like hook timer, that's gonna be the end of you, Johnny boy. Is all I gotta say. I'm slugging everybody. I ain't gotta hook your ass. You're done. You're done. You're done. And you're done. Basement Camp and Bubba, all he has to do is just down you and then follow you as you're bleeding out, because there's no longer a need to hook. He can just down you, and as you're crawling to other survivors, he can just walk on top of you and just continue to follow you wherever you go. And if you crawl towards a particular survivor, bam, he knows where another survivor is. He can instantly down them and then head on back to the other survivor, or he can do whatever he needs to do. After the bar gets 50%, that's the equivalent of one hook. And yeah, that's disgusting. So yeah, doubling the bleed out timer of the hook timer makes absolutely positively perfect sense. Let's see. Oops. Survivor recovery speed. 6 weeks. How long does it take to fully recover in DBD? Healing range from 6 weeks or even less for. Ah, that's funny. That's funny. 24 seconds. Nope, that's with Unbreakable equipped. That would probably take the same as self care 32, which would be double the heal speed. Makes sense. DBD dying recovery time. That's to die. That's to die. It's probably 32 seconds. It takes 16 to heal. 32 seconds to recover from a dying state would be balanced and makes sense. Plus, another character has to pick you up, enable for that to happen. So that would make sense. You're increasing that by another 12 seconds all the way. Well, not 12 seconds because it's 32. Half of 32 ain't 12, stupid. 16. So you would be increasing this to 48 seconds to recover unless they have any other perks supporting that. Don't you think that somewhere over a minute or somewhere around a minute is way too OP? Then you increase their bleed out speed 125%, which in actuality is 225%. So double the speed, but only for 25 seconds. So all we have to do is just do 25 times 2.5. So that's 2.5, 2.25. A fourth of 25 is 8, 8, 6, 6.25. So we do 25 plus 25, which is 50, and you got 56.25 seconds. So you would lose 56.25 seconds. Let's round that up. You would lose a minute off of your bleed out timer. You'd only bleed out for 3 minutes. So your recovery time is going to take 40 something minutes. But let's just say to round this up and make this easier. Recovery time is going to take a minute, 45 seconds to a minute. Bleed out speed, you've already lost a minute. Kinda ridiculous. Then, if anybody is hooked, that's a 7% increase to your 2 minute timer on hook. It takes 2 minutes, 120 seconds. At 10% of that would take 12 seconds off. So you're looking at somewhere around like 10 seconds of your hook timer that's going to be taken off. So, very OP, because all of this happens as soon as you down a survivor into the dying state. And it doesn't have any other type of activation besides that. It would be different if it was, a Scourge hook that you had to, hook an obsession on. Don't use this. This is just an example. Don't use this as the equation or the equivalent here, but getting your obsession and hooking them on a Scourge hook, for example, giving you a token, and then when you put a survivor into a dying state, then you get this effect. Because that would be a chain, and that's an example, a chain of activations of things you have to do to make something this huge of a detriment to recovery, speed, etc., etc. come into play as a factor, and then you balance around that particular equation or function, it'd be. Instead of, oh, I put you in the dying state, you get all of these debuffs now. Sucks to be you. Ferryman's fee. Bottom line, this part needs to be heavily redone and it needs better usability and less functionality, is what I should say. Make it easier to use, but make it function, smooth, make it balance, make it everything else. Ferryman's fee. After sacrificing a survivor, gain a token. When a token is gained from Ferryman's fee, it will distribute 3 tokens to every other token perk you may have other than to itself. After activating, this perk becomes inert. What the fuck? Do you realize how many token perks that are out there? For example, and I'm not gonna throw Devour of Hope out there, at least not first. Dun 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 dun. Oh, too far. Okay. Coup de grace, which I didn't even think of at the top of my head. That would be fucking disgusting. Coup de grace. On sacrificing a survivor, you will give 3 tokens to coup de grace. The next 3 lunge attacks that you have will be increased by 80%. I didn't even think about that. That's disgusting. Dying Light. Michael Myers' stackable perk. This is a token perk. It can have up to 11 tokens. That's what, anytime you see this line, the word tokens there. Speed per token, 11 tokens. You would get 3 tokens automatically added to that. That is a 9% penalty to repairing, healing, and sabotaging. Which will increase and increase and increase the more survivors that you sacrifice. You'll get about 6 tokens worth of value on here. 6 times 3 is 18% decrease to repairing, healing, and sabotaging. So far, not too disgusting. It's kind of it could work. Ghostface's perk. Anytime you sacrifice a survivor, you'll get 3 perks add to this. You will lose 12 meters off of your accumulated tokens. Or 12 meters off of your tear radius per accumulated token. So your tear radius will go real small. After sacrificing 1 survivor, you'll lose 12 meters. 12 off of 32, you can do the math there and get that your tear radius will be 20. Grim Embrace. As we keep going down, and this is what you should have done when you were doing this. Grim Embrace. The entity blocks all generators for 30, 35, 40 seconds. Aura of Obsession is revealed to you for 5 seconds. This is each time a survivor is hooked for the first time. Your perk is giving this 3 tokens. So you're going to have 1 survivor if you manage to tunnel them out and get them out of the system. Tunnel a survivor out, you instantly have this activation of the entity blocking all generators for 40 seconds. From there, you can use that 40 seconds to find and try to hook and tunnel out another survivor, and you can just continue to get this effect once per sacrifice survivor. Then you're going to get the effect again when you sacrifice the 3rd survivor, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but That's a thing too. We go down to the next. This is the one that I was going to throw out. The Vow of Hope. You don't need to do anything but sacrifice a survivor, and you permanently give them the exposed status effect as long as the totem still stands. Knock a survivor down, hook them in basement or on a hook somewhere. Generally, you'll want to hook it near your totem so you can protect the totem and cover that survivor at the same time. But if you can't, as soon as that survivor that you hook dies, you get 3 tokens, put on Devourer of Hope, and you immediately expose the rest of the lobby. When usually it'll take anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds to down a survivor. So you're losing 60 seconds out of the game, getting 3 exposed, as opposed to having to find a survivor, down them, hook them, run away, etc., etc. When you did this particular perk, you didn't look at all the other things or all the other perks that relied on tokens. And that's the only thing that I've been asking for such a long time is when you implement a perk, come to this form, press Control F, and all you gotta type in is the keyword token, dying status or dying state or anything like that, recovery status or recovery rate or whatever the hell we just went over. Control F, click the button, or type it in, click the button. Huntress's Lullaby. You're already decreasing down to 42%. Actually, no, you're done, because this works on each time you hook a survivor. If you hook said survivor twice, and then let them bleed out, you instantly have your Huntress's Lullaby done. Granted, you have to let them get off the hook. If not, you can hook them, get you 1 activation, and then when they die, gives you activation 4. Activation 4 is still good. It's not 5, but it's still good. Love the Hunt. Stackable action speed penalty. As soon as that person dies, you're giving them 3 tokens. That's 30% action speed penalty. Well, I don't know if this one would actually work. It says it adds 3 tokens to all token perks. So even though this gets its power off of totems being alive, to be fair, based off the literal definition of this particular perk, it will distribute 3 tokens to every token perk you may have. So, if this perk is active, you will get 3 token stacks added to that. So, as long as you have 2 tokens or 2 totems left, you'll get that 50% speed. So, yes, it should function with that. No Way Out. Now, that's fucking disgusting. 3 tokens added to this. I don't think this perk has a max. No, it does have a max. Up to a maximum of 60 seconds. It's 12 seconds per token. That's 36 tokens plus whatever you got on this particular perk. And this is all you needed to do. Play with your food, speed, and haste status effect. Maximum of 3 tokens. As soon as somebody dies, you will instantly get play with your food done and up to maximum. Oh, so we got 2 more. Remember Me Every time the obsession loses a health state, it activates. Blah, blah, blah. uh, 16 additional seconds. And save the best for last, which should be the last perk. Gain a stackable 5% cooldown reduction on successful attacks, up to a maximum of 40%. We're going to instantly boost that up by 3 tokens. The thing about this is, when the obsession is sacrificed or killed, you can neither gain nor lose any more tokens. So even if you just push out the obsession, you will be rewarded 3 tokens, then the perk would deactivate, giving you a maximum 15% recovery on hits minimum. If you don't mess with the obsession, then you can gain this all the way up to its maximum of 40%. And all of this is gained just by pressing Control F on the perk screen and finding things that are like that. The most disgusting ones, obviously, Devour of Hope, because this allows people to camp with Devour of Hope to get that 3 exposed charge. Afterwards, you're just good to go. So, if you play your cards right, you down a survivor, you walk away. When they pick that survivor up, you re-down them, and then you hook them again. Well, I guess it's going to take a little bit over 60 seconds, like I said. But within the first 100 seconds, you're going to have Devour of Hope. 2 hooks, and then they die. That gives you 5. That's the ability to Mori, and under the first 2 minutes of the match. Huge exploit for Devour of Hope. Knock down, hook. Whoever gets taken off the hook, you make it your sole purpose in life to find them again. And then you tunnel their asses down, and you take them out a second time. If you run this in Devour of Hope, you can run any other perks to help you find that particular person. Heck, any other killer. You could run Legion with the full tear radius. You can run Doctor with the static blast, or even Nemesis as zombies could help you with some extent. Any type of location perks, any type of killer that gives you that activation there. And it's just as simple as that. Knock them down twice. On the 3rd hook, they will die. You will have full Devour of Hope activations. And all you have to do is make sure that they don't take out your goddamn totem, which easily put Hex Undying there to protect that Devour of Hope totem. If they do find it one time at the beginning or something like that. So that would be your 3rd perk. And then the 4th one, you could put, you know, anything that'll help with destroying totems, like Thrill of the Hunt or something. You can put anything you want, really. Anything to complete that build. Way too OP. Devour of Hope being the main one, but there's a lot of other perks that get power that shouldn't have power from just one sacrifice. Imagine a Bubba camping in basement. Because if you put them in basement, there's only a couple ways they can leave, and the Devour of Hope activation trigger isn't that far. You can still, for the most part, on some maps, still see Kill Shack. So when they get taken down, you get the token, and then you immediately head back. They have to run out of the Kill Shack and then escape from that particular area. Ursa's Calling could be a very good one too. If they decide to heal under the hook or go somewhere else and heal, you could be able to pick that person back up and tunnel them even more. Then Scourge Hook, 6 feet under. When a survivor dies on a scourge hook, reveal the aura of generator. Who the fuck cares? Why? If not actively being repaired, those generators will begin to regress. Ruin already does that. Why would you care about the auras of generators that are 60% or more? You took Tinker and you buffed it from being 75% to 60%, and then you nerfed Ruin and jammed it in on the other side of that. And they have to die on a Scourge hook. So this Scourge hook, well, no, because there's no point in running this with that build that I just said. There's no point. This perk is useless. It does nothing for you. If the generator has this or more progress, and you've just hooked a survivor, or survivors just died on a hook, meaning nobody went for a save, the survivors are going to be working on that particular generator that has that progress. So it's anti itself. And seeing the auras of multiple generators that are 60% or more, or even one generator, doesn't help you really in the slightest. Yeah, you're going to stop one generator from being done, but there's going to be multiple other generators being worked on at the time, so you're going to have the choice between which one you go to. Add-ons I don't need to go into. Okay. Well, there's that part of the killer, I suppose. I managed to spend about an hour and a half going over it, and not even the full concept, just basically the perks and everything else I did before. I think I'll call it there for now. I mean, I went over those two. I'm not going over the first psychopath, because I already did for one. So we move past this, and we'll start deceit and all the rest going downwards instead of upwards tomorrow, or the next day, or whenever else I decide to get on. I didn't get on yesterday, or the day before yesterday, whichever day it is that I missed. I think I missed two. Well, the day before yesterday, I was playing Gears of War 5, and I just kind of lost track of time. Um, no, I didn't beat it. No, I haven't played it since. I mean, I love Gears of War and all of that, but my computer just doesn't have the memory for it. The cutscene, or I mean, the gameplay is smooth. There's no lag, obviously, because it's just gameplay. But the cutscenes and shit that play stutter because my memory gets capped. And then in some cutscenes where they really use, their full budget on them, my screen just freezes until it gets past the full budget's parts, and then it catches back up. So, I mean, until I get memory or more memory into my computer, there's no point in me continuing to play the game. I mean, I can beat the story mode and all of that, but I mean, I only paid $1, and that's to get the Game Pass and all of that for $1. So there's no point in me in being like, oh no, I spent money. Oh no, I need to complete this game. Really, like, no, I can just save it for a later date. I might, nah, I probably won't stream it, honestly. I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna stream it. One, I can't stream it now because it'll just take up more memory. So memory is a problem. But two, I've already started it, and I've played every Gears of War to completion. And I think I like to take my time with this particular series. Like, if Persona ever came out with another game, I will never stream the Persona games. Those are by far my favorite series of games, Persona 3 being my favorite out of everything, and yeah, it's dear to my heart. I don't want some dighead coming in while I'm playing a Persona game, either spoiling something or talking trash when I'm having, my time. Anyway, thank anybody stop by that looks at any of these videos. As always, supplement your lifestyle, and I'll see